appointment through me. Lovita Alizé Jenkins, administrative assistant. That's my title.
The picture on the menu clearly showed 9 jumbo shrimp. How's she gonna bring me a plate of 6 regular shrimp?
Steve's always been, always. The conversations me, him, Wendy used to have on set, it's the same.
What really went on behind the scenes of the Steve Harvey Show? Why is Terri Vaughn, at 55, finally speaking out? Did the cast and crew face problems no one knew about? Were there fights, secrets, or unfair treatment?
Right. But it was just back then, he didn't talk about that. There was no conversation of that. So I think what you're seeing is still that another side of him.
How did these issues affect the people working on the show? What made Terri Vaughn decide to reveal these dark secrets now? Let's uncover the truth together. Do you remember the good old days of the Steve Harvey Show? This funny and heartfelt sitcom aired on the WB from August 25th, 1996 to February 17th, 2002. It ran for 6 seasons and made a lot of people laugh while teaching life lessons. But don't mix it up with Steve Harvey's later talk show, which came out from 2012 to 2017. The sitcom was created by Winifred Hervey, a talented producer and writer. She also worked on other hit shows like In the House and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The episodes were directed by Stan Lathan, who is great at bringing stories to life on screen. At first, Winifred wasn't sure about working with Steve Harvey. She didn't have much experience with stand-up comedians, and Steve's earlier show, Me and the Boys, had been canceled.
I had been approached with Steve Harvey before, but I didn't really feel like he was quite my cup of tea, and I had not worked with too many stand-ups.
But Stan Lathan, someone she trusted, came on board and convinced her to give it a shot.
But I ended up doing it with Stan Lathan, came to me, and he's somebody who I've known for a long time and respect very much. And he was involved with Steve, and so that's how I got into that.
Steve's management team, Brillstein-Grey, wanted to help him find another big project after his last show ended. That's how the Steve Harvey Show was born. The show became a big hit, mixing laughs with heartfelt moments. Terri Vaughn recently opened up about her role as Lovita on the Steve Harvey Show.
An appointment through me. Lovita Alizé Jenkins, administrative assistant. That's my title.
The character brought her a lot of fame, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. While many people loved Lovita, others judged Terri harshly. Some didn't understand that Lovita was just a role. They thought Terri was just like the character in real life, without realizing how much effort she put into playing Lovita. Lovita was bold, funny, and confident, but playing her came with challenges. Terri said roles like Lovita could lead to being typecast. This means Hollywood might only offer her similar roles, making it hard to try new characters. Some people were also upset with how Lovita acted. Groups like the NAACP felt Lovita didn't show a positive image of black women. They thought she was too loud or ghetto. Terri didn't agree with this criticism. To her, Lovita was real. She said people like Lovita exist in real life, and she felt proud to represent them. Terri grew up in a neighborhood where she saw people like Lovita every day. She said, "This is the voice for the girls I grew up with." For Terri, Lovita wasn't just a character. She was someone many people could relate to.
Lovita Alizé Jenkins, administrative assistant.
Even though some people didn't like the character, Terri's hard work paid off. She won 3 Image Awards for her role as Lovita. This proved that many people connected with the character and appreciated what Terri brought to the role. Terri also said that some people might have been uncomfortable because Lovita was a mirror of real life. Not everyone wants to see the hood side of life on TV, but Terri believed it was important to show all sides of life, even the parts people might want to ignore.
The picture on the menu clearly showed 9 jumbo shrimp. How's she gonna bring me a plate of 6 regular shrimp?
After the Steve Harvey Show ended, Terri got a chance to show another side of her acting. She joined the cast of Soul Food and played a very different character. This new role was more serious, giving her a chance to prove her range as an actress. Terri was grateful to producer Felicia Henderson for trusting her and helping her grow in her career.
Steve's always been, always. The conversations me, him, Wendy used to have on set, it's the same.
Terri Vaughn shared her thoughts about Steve Harvey, calling him cocky but consistent. She said Steve has always been the same, whether on TV or in personal talks with her and others, like Wendy. According to Terri, Steve hasn't changed much. The big difference now is his life's new direction. Terri explained that everyone grows and changes, and Steve's new role might have shaped his views. If Steve had spoken the way he does now years ago, people might have reacted the same way they do today. But back then, he didn't talk about those topics. Terri admitted Steve can seem a little arrogant, especially in certain situations. However, she also said Steve is a good guy, just like Cedric. Still, Steve's strong personality can sometimes make him hard to handle.
But it was just back then, he didn't talk about that.
Right.
There was no conversation of that. So I think what you're seeing is just another side of him.
One thing that seemed to bother Steve was the way she and the other women on set dressed for work. Terri said that she and the other women would come to work in comfortable clothes, like tennis shoes and sweatpants, because they were there to rehearse for long hours. But Steve would always ask why they didn't wear dresses or heels, and he would joke that they should look more put together. Terri admitted that she found this funny, but also said that she couldn't imagine dressing up like that for rehearsals. It was clear that Steve's views on appearance came from a different time, and he expected people to look a certain way. Terri joked that she could never be with him because she would never be able to meet those high standards. She said that Steve wanted everyone to look perfect, like they were going to a wedding all the time, and that wasn't her style. Terri explained that Steve often gets criticized for his style and attitude, but she believes he does it in a fun, comical way. It's his way of showing that he's made it despite people trying to bring him down.
Did I date your sister?
When the Steve Harvey Show first came on TV, many critics didn't think it was good. Variety, a big magazine about entertainment, gave it a bad review. They said the show wasn't very funny and used too many old stereotypes.
I'm gonna guess that would be you, or else there would be no point to this whole story.
For example, they mentioned jokes about big butts and jive talk, which they felt were outdated and unoriginal. But fans liked Steve Harvey's charm. Even when the jokes weren't great, Steve had a way of making people laugh. His personality helped make the show enjoyable for a lot of viewers. However, not everyone was happy with the way women were shown on the show. Some people noticed that Steve's character often didn't listen to women and acted too macho. This upset viewers who felt it gave the wrong idea about how men should treat women. Another problem was the female characters. They were often shown in ways that made them seem weak or stuck in old-fashioned roles. Critics said the show wasn't giving women strong or inspiring characters to look up to. Even though some people loved the show, these issues made others feel it could have done a better job showing respect for women and breaking away from stereotypes. The Steve Harvey Show has faced criticism over how it portrayed people with lighter skin tones as more successful and privileged than those with darker skin tones. This is a form of discrimination known as colorism, which happens when people with lighter skin are treated better than those with darker skin, even within the same racial group. The show's portrayal of black characters seemed to reinforce these ideas, and many people took notice. Colorism has been an issue for a long time, especially in the black community. It often means that people with lighter skin are seen as more attractive, more successful, or even more acceptable in society. This kind of thinking can create problems, making people with darker skin feel left out or less important. On the Steve Harvey Show, some fans felt that this issue wasn't addressed properly, and it made them uncomfortable. This created the impression that lighter skin was more valuable, which is harmful to people with darker skin. Some fans wanted the show to talk about this unfairness more openly, or at least show a more equal picture of black beauty. They hoped the show would help change the way people see skin color and show that beauty and success can come in all shades.
Wrestling mat. Smell like feet, but you know that aroma usually make me doze off quicker anyway.
One of the most talked about characters on the Steve Harvey Show was Cedric the Entertainer. He played Steve's best friend and was often shown as the cool guy. Cedric was funny, laid back, and didn't take life too seriously. But he was also a bit lazy and irresponsible. While many people laughed at his jokes, others felt his character was a problem. Why? Because it showed a stereotype about black men.
Thank you, Regina. I do clean up good, don't I?
Cedric's character seemed to suggest that black men are only good for being funny or carefree. Instead of showing different kinds of black experiences, the show stuck to this one idea. Some viewers felt this wasn't fair and sent the wrong message about black men. Another issue people had with the show was its use of racial humor. Making jokes about race can be tricky. Sometimes it's funny and helps people connect, but it can also be hurtful. The Steve Harvey Show often joked about black culture or the differences between black and white people. While some fans found these jokes harmless, others felt they went too far. For some, the humor felt more like making fun of black culture instead of celebrating it. This made some viewers uncomfortable. While the show was a big hit and loved by many, these issues sparked debates about what's funny and what's not.
So you really tailored the character to his
Yes,
personality.
I really tailored it to him. I went off on my own. I told him I wanted him to be a kind of a washed-up, singer. He was in a group like the Temptations or whatever. They were called the High Tops.
Not everything went smoothly behind the scenes. There were reports of tension between Steve Harvey and the show's producers, which made things a bit rocky at times. The issues seemed to center around the direction the show was going in and how the characters were being portrayed. One of the biggest problems came from creative differences. Steve Harvey wanted the show to focus more on comedy. However, the producers seemed to push for a mix of comedy and drama. This caused some tension, as Harvey felt that the balance wasn't right. He believed the show was leaning too much toward drama, and this made it harder for him to do what he did best, make people laugh. However, Steve admitted he had some frustrations with the show. He wanted to explore serious issues like teen pregnancy and drug abuse, but said the network didn't agree. They thought those topics were too heavy for a comedy series and wanted to keep the show light because it was doing well. Steve disagreed, saying, "You can make anything funny." Another problem was how the characters were being shown on the show. Steve Harvey wanted to make sure his character was portrayed in a way that connected with the audience, but the producers had a different vision. These disagreements led to a tense atmosphere on set. Harvey wasn't happy with how things were being handled, and this affected his relationship with the producers. Some reports even said that the working environment became so challenging that it impacted Harvey's ability to enjoy his work. For someone who built his career on making people laugh and having fun, this was a big problem. When the Steve Harvey Show ended after its 6th season, many fans were upset. They loved the show and felt it ended too soon. People believed there were still many good stories to tell, and the show had more to offer. Steve Harvey, the star of the show, also shared his disappointment when the news came out. He said that disagreements between him and the network were part of the reason why the show ended. One reason people were so upset about the cancellation is that it was a show led by a black cast. Even though critics gave it mixed reviews, the show still lasted 6 seasons. By 2001, Steve Harvey was ready to move on to new things. But at the request of the WB network, he agreed to make 13 more episodes for a final season. Interestingly, the last season had better ratings than the 2 seasons before it. This doesn't happen often with long-running shows. In February 2002, Steve Harvey talked about the show in an interview with the Los Angeles Times. He said he was proud of what the show accomplished. Steve also shared that it helped him grow as a performer. He said, "I'm walking away on my own terms. We lasted 6 years and we're doing great in reruns." Steve felt the show introduced him to many families across the country, helping him go from being a stand-up comedian to a TV star. Even though the show ended, it remains a favorite for many fans. People still remember it for its humor and heart.
Sadie, I'm pregnant. You gonna be a daddy.
Did you know Terri's real-life pregnancy was written into the show? This made her character's story feel extra special because it matched her real life. It's always fun when a show connects with real-life events. Another cool fact is about Aisha, a character played by Ariane Johnson. She joined the show in the 3rd season. Around the same time, Lori Beth Denberg joined as Lydia Gutman, and Lydia stayed until the very end of the series. Here's something surprising. Rapper Robin Allen, also known as Lady of Rage, played Ketta the Ox Cox. She was in her 30s at the time, but played a teenager. That's some great acting, right? One of the best parts of the show was the music. Steve created a fun singing group called Steve Hightower and the High Tops. They performed catchy songs now and then. The group had Steve, T-Bone, played by T.K. Carter and later Don D.C. Curry, Pretty Tony, played by Ronald Isley, and Clyde, played by Jonathan Slocum. Some of their famous songs were When the Funk Hits the Fan and Break Me Off a Piece of That Funk. This show had so much to love, from funny stories to great music. When creating the Steve Harvey Show, the team wasn't sure at first what kind of character Steve Harvey should play. They thought about making him an English teacher, but that idea didn't feel right. One of the creators even joked, "I don't think you'd want Steve Harvey to teach English." So they decided to meet Steve in person to figure things out.
I didn't really know what I would do with him because he's a very specific type of a person, and they wanted him to be, I forget what, they wanted him to be an English teacher. I was like, I don't think you want Steve Harvey to be your English teacher.
When they met Steve, his personality stood out. He was funny, confident, and had a unique style. After talking with him, the creators realized they needed a character that matched his real-life personality. That's how Steve Hightower was born. Steve Hightower was a former singer who used to be in a group like The Temptations, called the High Tops, but his music career had gone downhill. In the show, Steve's character was struggling and ended up teaching music at a high school. To make it even more fun, the school principal was a woman Steve's character used to tease as a kid. This playful relationship added a lot of laughs to the show.
Did we date?
No.
The show's theme song was written by Patrice Rushen, a talented jazz pianist and R&B singer. She also worked as the show's musical director, bringing energy and soul to the series. Steve's journey to TV started long before the show. Back in 6th grade, when his teacher asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, Steve said, "I want to be on TV." At the time, Steve had a severe stutter, and many people doubted him, but he didn't give up on his dream.
She told me, she said, "Son, one day, God gonna give you a big house up on the hill. When you get up there, you got to tell somebody else how to get on the hill."
Steve Harvey didn't have an easy road to success. Before becoming a famous comedian and TV star, he did many different jobs to pay the bills. He worked as an auto worker, insurance salesman, carpet cleaner, mail carrier, and even a boxer. Steve was willing to do whatever it took to make ends meet. Things started to change for him in the early 1990s when he became a finalist in a national comedy search. That moment opened doors for him and led to a long run as the host of Showtime at the Apollo, where he took over from Mark Curry. Steve's comedy skills stood out, and it didn't take long for him to land a bigger opportunity. In 1994, Steve got his first starring role on the ABC show, Me and the Boys.
Watching you, oh, you got drool all in the corner of your mouth. Ooh, another lonely Saturday night.
He played a widowed father raising 3 sons. Even though the show only lasted 1 season, it showed that Steve had what it took to be a star. 2 years later, he got another big chance with the Steve Harvey Show. In this sitcom, Steve played a character named Steve Hightower. His best friend on the show, Cedric Robinson, was played by Cedric the Entertainer. Fun fact, Steve and Cedric are real-life best friends and had known each other for years before working on the show.
That's why I don't like telling you nothing. Cause see, I knew you was gonna go there, act all immature about the whole situation.
Regina Greer, played by Wendy Raquel Robinson, is a big part of the Steve Harvey Show. She is the principal of the school and an old classmate of Steve Harvey. Back in their younger days, Steve used to tease her and call her Piggy because she was overweight. Even though they had this tough history, Regina and Steve share a funny and sometimes tricky friendship on the show. Steve also spends time with 2 of his students, Romeo Santana, played by Merlin Santana, and Stanley Bullethead Kosaki, played by William Lee Scott. These 2 boys add a lot of laughter with their silly behavior. In the first season, there were also other students like Sophia, played by Tracy Villar, and Sarah, played by Netfa Perry. Here's an interesting fact. Tracy Villar, who played a teenager, was actually 28 years old, only 1 year younger than Wendy Raquel Robinson. Later in season 2, new characters joined the show. Olivia Jenkins, played by Terri Vaughn, became Cedric's love interest. Their love story grew over time, and they got married and even had a baby. The show mixes fun, drama, and heartfelt moments, making it special for fans. Steve has had a complicated personal life, especially when it comes to his marriages. Harvey first married Marcia Harvey in 1980. At the time, his comedy career was just starting to take off. This success caused some tension in their relationship, and after 14 years of marriage and 3 children, they divorced in 1994. Before their divorce was final, they had actually separated in 1990, which was the year before their 3rd child was born. Things got even more complicated after the separation. Harvey reportedly didn't pay the child support he owed to Marcia and their kids. Also during this time, Harvey started living with his future wife, Mary Shackelford, even though his divorce was still being settled. Harvey and Mary married in 1996 and had 1 son together, but their marriage ended in divorce in 2005. After their split, Mary Shackelford claimed that Harvey had been unfaithful to her with his current wife, Marjorie Harvey. Steve Harvey married his 3rd wife, Marjorie, in 2007. They've been together for a long time now, raising 7 kids as a blended family. 4 of these kids are Steve's biological children, and 3 are Marjorie's, whom Steve adopted. One of their children, Lori Harvey, is famous in the fashion world. In August 2023, rumors started flying about Marjorie cheating on Steve with their family's security guard and chef. But Steve shut those rumors down. During a comedy show, he told everyone his marriage was just fine. He made it clear that things between him and Marjorie were still strong. Steve's personal life isn't the only place he's faced drama. Back in 2015, he had some legal trouble. A company that leases private jets sued him for $205,040. Steve had asked for changes to the jet, like taking out 2 seats and redecorating the inside. The changes cost $400,000, but Steve only paid half. The company wasn't happy and took him to court. The case didn't last long, though, because they worked out a deal with one of Steve's businesses. Even with ups and downs, Steve Harvey keeps moving forward. His marriage and career remain strong despite challenges.